What is wrong with you?
Chip, I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
Oh, I'm always jacked up because you want to know why? It's game day Thursday. I'll be there. Oh, in probably the pouring rain. This is Timmons New York Giants Straight Talk, powered by Online Big Blue LLC. Want to talk about the Giants and the Cowboys? Want to talk about what the prediction is? And no, Mr. T, it's not pain. I've been thinking about this since the second half of the Cleveland game, and as the Cleveland Browns clearly shot themselves in the foot numerous times at the end of that game, which went to the benefit of the Giants. And we've said this before in the video yesterday. That game was a tale of two halves. It was a dominant performance offensively and defensively in the first half by the Giants, and then it was just downhill from there in the second half. Did Dable sit on the lead and tried not to have Daniel Jones make that costly mistake? Did the defense just run out of gas? I don't know. And that's why I look at this Cowboys game, and I think I'm more perplexed and befuddled about who's going to win the game. And I keep thinking, I've given my rationale for the Giants to win or lose games this entire season. I was able to give what I felt was a pretty honest assessment and evaluation of the strengths and the weaknesses of both teams. I did have the Giants winning last week 16-10. And I kind of look at this game again, and I kind of just, I don't know. I kind of scratch my head. I want to say I'm at a loss a little bit because I don't know what Giant team is going to show up. Is it going to be the one that put up the stinker in the Minnesota game, the entire game? Is it the one that couldn't score on probably one of the worst defenses in the league in reference to Washington and had some poor decision making? Is it the one that had this wonderful first half against the Browns and then did nothing in the second half? Right now, the Cowboys are 4.5-point favorite over the Giants at home. That's crazy to me. I would think the number would be even, or maybe the Cowboys at 1.5, but 4.5-point favorite. I think that's just nuts. The Cowboys defense has allowed 89 points this season. So, I mean, yeah, we're only 3 games in. And the Giant offense has scored just 45 points all year. So I keep looking. I look at all the betting websites. Most of them have the Cowboys winning 27-17. There are as many that say the Cowboys have a 7. I always love when they gave the winning percentage, a 57.9% chance of the Cowboys beating the Giants. All that means nothing. All these calculations mean nothing. It just shows that the perception is that the Giants are not as good as the Cowboys. That's what it shows. That's what it tells me. And I kind of think about it, and I'm like, well, if you kind of think about this, yeah, you probably the pendulum for this Giants team hopefully is swinging in the right direction. And like I said, after the embarrassing loss, now all of a sudden you have the Dan Jones Panty Boys coming out in force for a good half. I have a great video coming out after this game. It's all about Daniel Jones. It's going to be sponsored by or partnered by Mint Mobile. And it's really going to be a defiant breakdown of the entire Daniel Jones fiasco. So make sure you stay tuned for that. It's probably going to come out on Saturday. But just getting back to the Cowboys. Cowboys, of course, have a 1-2 record. It's not an ideal situation for them as well. And you just kind of take a look at the way they play and the way they've been playing and who they've played. And there's this little bit of a conception that CeeDee Lamb and Dak are having a little bit of the outs because CeeDee's not getting the ball back enough. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. What I'm going to be curious to see is what the Giants are going to do defensively. The Giants only blitzed 31% of the time the first 3 games. Last week, they sent an extra rusher at Deshaun Watson 57% of the time. The only difference is the offensive line, even at its, even probably towards it's towards the end of its shelf life in Dallas, is still a very good offensive line. But it's not that premier offensive line that it was like 4 or 5 years ago. You also have to take a look at the fact that the health in regards to the cornerbacks, Doria, Jackson, and Phillips have not participated in practice this week. So we have to kind of wait and see. Deonte Banks, is he going to be put on Lamb? Lamb is lined up more than half the season at times in the slots, which I think is going to be interesting. It's funny. Lamb is being used like I want to use Wanda Robinson when I say we should be using Malik Neighbors. Use him everywhere. You just don't just stifle him to the outside. Use him in the backfield. Use him in the slot. Hell, use him in the wildcat. Use him anyway just use him any way possible. Now the run defense for both teams I think is a little bit inept, so it's gonna be interesting to see. Singletary hopefully should have a big game, but every time we look for Singletary to have the big game, he's get one. Like I said, everyone looks at Saquon Barkley and says, well, he had the big 60-yard runs. What did he do besides that? And it's like, well, he had another 80 plus on like 14 carries. When Singletary had 66 yards and 43 of them came on one play on 16 carries. So it's going to be interesting. Can the Giants attack the what I think is going to be a suspect run defense for the Cowboys, or the Cowboys just going to say, you know what, you don't have Saquon. Singletary, yes, is a good back, but he's not that game changing back. So you know what, we're going to just drop back in coverage a little bit, we're going to make you run. And if you can't run, we're going to have some pretty good defenders in the defensive backfield, and we're going to make you pass. So, I mean, like I said, I look at this game and I don't have a feel. I don't have a thought process. I can't tell you if Diggs is going to shut down Neighbors. I can't tell you if they're going to sit there and put a safety over the top. I can't tell you which Daniel Jones is going to come out. I can't tell you any of these things because I just don't know, because Daniel Jones has not looked like this high quality $160 million NFL quarterback outside of a half. And it kind of reminds me of last year. He had a good second half versus the Cardinals. And I get nervous with Jones because he is one of those quarterbacks that you've seen now. If there's any pressure, if there's any breakdown, if there's a breakdown in a play, he has a propensity of making the wrong decision. Listen, the Cleveland game should have been 14-0. That should have been an interception. Let's all be honest. I hate that after the fact play in reference to roughing the passer or hands to the face, because of the fact that it's a continuation of the play. It's not. I should rephrase that. It's not even a continuation of the play. That's what bothers me. It's not a continuation of the play because the quarterback has already released the ball out of his hands. And if you watch that play and you don't watch it in slow motion, everyone watches fucking plays in slow motion, and slow motion makes it look a lot worse than it is. But the defender held up, put his hands to the sides in the air. It happens to go into Daniel Jones's helmet. That was not a penalty. Can we just be honest about it? And I just think that there is this feeling that I feel if the Giants are a real team at home, Thursday night football, prime time against their division rival, can get a division win because they've already lost to Washington. This is a game you have to win. We always say every game so far for the Giants outside of that week 1 has been a must-win game. You can't go 1-3 and then play the teams you're going to play. You just can't. You have to focus on beating this team. And it doesn't matter if you have injuries, because I love it because, if we lose, everyone will say, well, it was the injuries to this and the injuries to that. Every team has injuries. It's always next man up. It's always step up. And right now, like I said, to me, there's a suspect in reference to the running game of the Cowboys, because they're doing the running back from committee with Elliott and Dowell and Vaughn. So I think the Giants should be able to get there. I should be able to see. I'm kind of curious to see if Dalvin Cook, he's been ramping up a little bit and he's been on the practice squad and it looks like he's going to be it looks like he might be good to go soon. So we'll see if Dalvin Cook is actually in the game. I think if Dalvin Cook comes in the game, might be a little bit of a difference or an issue for the Giants. But outside of CeeDee Lamb, you have what's his name, Tolbert, as basically their second wide receiver because Cooks just hasn't played well this year. You got Ferguson to me, who's the security blanket of Prescott. He injured his knee in week 1, but only missed 1 game before returning on Sunday. And he didn't miss a beat. And you always worry about the tight ends in the middle of the field. Tight ends, running backs in the middle of the field for the Giants. You always worry about that. And the question's going to be, like I said, history does not favor the Giants in this matchup. Jones is 1-12 in primetime games. You know, he's got the Cowboys have his number a little bit. But it's gonna really depend on establishing the running game, not over targeting Malik Neighbors, which is gonna be paramount because, like I said, you know, Daniel Jones, he 30 targets in the last 2 games. There is kind of a you know, we've said it before. It's Daniel Jones, Captain Red Stripe Man. Well, the Red Stripe Man is always looking at that target. And the problem is when you start red striping someone, you start looking for someone in key situations. When you start looking for the same player over and over again in any situation, the defense is going to clamp down. I mean, so the keys for the Giants' victory is going to have to be you're going to have to be solid on defense. You're going to have to limit the run. But the only problem is, like I said, if you limit, here's my thing. This is what's perplexing me about this game. If you limit the run of the Cowboys, they're going to focus more on the pass. And you still have CeeDee Lamb, you still have Tolbert, you still have Ferguson, you still have Cooks, and you have a very young and depleted secondary. So if stopping the run opens up the pass, forces them to pass, that might actually fall into the hands of the Cowboys. This is why I got no fucking clue about this game. Maybe we're going to have our live stream tomorrow at noon where we always do the 10:30 Giant live stream on Sundays. So we're going to have to do the Thursday one because I'm also going to have to leave the house about 2:00 to get over to the game. So we're going to talk about it more in depth. But like I said, I got no idea. I literally right now do not have a thought process about this game. And that's what scares the bejesus out of me. As always, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to ring that bell because you want to know why. That'd be awesome.